The cock had just crowed for the third time when Mama Obinna, tall and full-chested, marched across her compound with a bucket under her arm. The air in Amik village still carried the dew of dawn, and the trees whispered softly like elders discussing secrets before the children woke up. It was another quiet morning, or so it seemed. No one knew, yet that trouble was crouching like a hungry leopard, ready to pounce. Inside the small three-room house, Obinna, her only son, lay sprawled across a raffia mat, snoring like a drunken palm wine tapper. His legs stretched out like yam tendrils, his lips half open, and a faint smell of augury wafted from his armpits. Mama Obinna hissed, and kicked a stool near his head. Obinna, Tufiakwa, lazy child. The sun will soon rise, and you are still lying like a dead goat. When will you ever become a man? Obinna stirred, but didn't move. His mother muttered and turned towards the small kitchen, where another boy, slimmer, shorter, and always alert, was already washing the pots. His name was Chika, the boy with no mother or father, the one they brought home from the village orphanage 7 years ago when Obinna was just 10. From the very first day, Mama Obinna had made it clear, Chika would never be her son. He was just a helper, a charity case, a stray boy picked from the dustbin of fate. But Papa Obinna, a soft-spoken farmer who spent more time with his goats than with people, had insisted. This boy is ours now. Treat him like your own. Mama Obinna had only smiled. A dangerous smile. Now, as Chika scrubbed the soot-blackened pots with ashes and dry plantain peels, she pointed at him. Quick! Before the sun rises, sweep the compound, feed the goats, and pound the yam I left inside. Lazy children everywhere. Chika nodded without a word. He had learned not to speak too much in this house. His voice was like a matchstick, too small to light anything but quick to get burned. Outside, Papa Obinna's footsteps approached, slow and measured. He held a hoe over his shoulder and wore his usual faded wrapper and straw hat. He was ready for the farm. Where is Obinna? He asked. Where else? Mama Obinna replied with a sharp tongue. Still sleeping, like the prince of Umwahia. Papa Obinna sighed. Wake him. Let him follow me to the farm today. I want him to learn how to cut cassava, not cut lies with those useless boys he follows around. Humph, she scoffed. Follow you? That boy. He has no future with hoes and farms. He needs to travel to the city like the other boys. He can't even carry water without panting, Papa Obinna said, stepping into the backyard. By afternoon, the house would burn with whispers. A goat missing. A neighbor's chickens vanishing. Coins stolen from under pillows. And every time, without fail, Mama Obinna would point her crooked finger. It's that orphan. That good-for-nothing boy. I don't trust him. Papa Obinna would always say, Are you sure, Inini? Let's ask Obinna. Don't you dare call my son a thief, she would shout, her eyes wide and chest heaving. It's that one you brought to disgrace me. That motherless boy. And so, Chika became the dust everyone wiped their feet on. Beaten for crimes he never committed. Cursed for being quiet. Thrown out of school for lack of fees while Obinna played with slingshots and followed older boys who wore dark sunglasses and whispered to each other in corners. Only the old man who lived near the stream ever showed Chika kindness. Papa Ease. People called him mad, but Chika thought he was wise. He wore the same white wrapper every day, spoke in riddles, and offered cola nuts to lizards. Your eyes are too big for this small world, Papa Ease told him once. Don't cry too much now. You will cry again when you laugh too loud. Chika didn't understand it then, but he would. One evening, everything exploded. It started with a shout in the village square. A group of boys had broken into the chief's storehouse, stolen palm oil, and scattered his chickens. They caught 2 of the boys, but one had escaped. Obinna. The villagers, carrying cutlasses and sticks, followed his trail straight to Papa Obinna's house. By then, Obinna had sneaked in through the back and was hiding under the bed in his mother's room. Where is your son? The youth leader barked. Mama Obinna ran outside, tying her wrapper tightly. Again? What is it this time? Thief. We're looking for your son. He broke into the chief's store. Papa Obinna stood quietly, staring at the dust rising from the men's feet. I told you, he said. I told you that boy was rotten. Before anyone could say more, Mama Obinna darted into the house, dragged Chika by the arm, and shoved him into the courtyard. Here he is. Carry him. That's the one. He's the thief. Chika's eyes widened. No. Please, I haven't even left this house today. The villagers grumbled, unsure. Papa Obina frowned. Wait, someone said. Where is Obina? He's not here, Mama Obina snapped. But Chica was already pointing. He's in the house. He's under the bed. He told me to keep quiet. Smack. A slap landed on Chica's face. Shut up, Mama Obina screamed. The men began to argue. Then one voice rose above the rest. Wait. It was Papa Ease, standing at the gate, leaning on his walking stick like a staff of justice. Let the boy go, he said. Why? Because truth is like smoke. You can cover it, but you cannot kill it. Silence. Bring him to me, Papa Ease added. Let me take him. And just like that, Chica was spared. He followed the old man down the bush path, bleeding, bruised, but alive. And Obina? His day would come. The path to Papa Ease's hut twisted like a snake that had lost its way. It slithered through thick bushes, past stubborn anthills and silent trees that stood like watchers in the wild. Most children in Amik feared that path. They said spirits whispered there at night, and that Papa Ease's compound was where the dead went to drink water. But Chica followed the old man with quiet obedience, his legs trembling, face swollen from the slap he received, his heart pounding like pestle against mortar. He kept his head low, his spirit drained like a leaking pot. His feet carried him forward, but a small part of his soul wanted to sit under the cashew tree and cry until the sun forgot to shine. Don't look back, Papa Ease said without turning. His voice was low but heavy, like a distant drum. That road leads to a graveyard, and you are not ready to die. Chica didn't reply. What was there to say? He was only a boy, an unwanted boy, a shadow in a family that never wanted his light. What had he done but be born? What crime had he committed except to breathe? Papa Ease's compound was not a house. It was a world of its own, built with mud walls and bamboo sticks. The small hut stood beside a slow-moving stream. The compound was surrounded by banana trees, pawpaw, and old cola nut trees that dropped their fruits like forgotten blessings. A wooden stool stood under one tree, carved with Nsibidi symbols and crowned with a faded red cloth. This was the home of the madman of Amik. But mad to whom? Papa Ease pushed open his door with the end of his walking stick. Come inside, my son. This is where forgotten people grow roots. Chica stepped in. It was dark, cool, and scented with herbs. Baskets hung from the ceiling. Cowries lined the mud shelf. A rusty radio with no batteries sat on a stool like an idol, while dry fish hung beside a cracked calabash. On the wall were old pictures. Young men in military uniform, a woman with eyes like Chica's, and a faded certificate from a school in Enugu. Papa Ease was no madman. He was once somebody. He pointed to a mat. Sit. We will wash your wounds. But first, you must remove your past. Chica sat, unsure what that meant. The old man knelt beside him and brought out a bowl of water and crushed bitter leaves. He began to rub them into the boy's cuts, softly, slowly, as if he were touching memory itself. Pain is a visitor, he said. But if you feed it, it will build a house inside your chest. Chica flinched at the sting, but didn't cry. He had learned that tears were cheap. People stepped on them like spilt palm oil. Do you know who you are? Papa Ease asked. Chica shook his head. You are not that woman's shame. You are not that man's silence. You are a seed buried under the wrong soil. Chica looked up, confused. The old man smiled. Don't worry. One day, you will understand. For now, you will live with me. The weeks that followed were unlike anything Chica had known. No shouting, no beatings, no fingers pointing at his nose. He woke up at dawn, fetched water from the stream, helped Papa Ease in his herb garden, and sat under the cola tree listening to stories about a world he didn't know. Papa Ease told him about the war, about how he lost his wife and son, about the voices that came in the night and refused to leave. Chica listened, wide-eyed, silent. Sometimes villagers came for herbs. A woman whose child had a stubborn fever, a man with a swollen foot, a young girl who saw shadows in her dreams. They all came to Papa Ease, and always left with hope. But no one came for Chica. Not once. Not Obina. Not Papa Obina. Not even Mama Obina. Only the wind remembered him, and the village dogs, who barked when they smelled his scent on the road. Then, one quiet evening, Papa Ease came back from the market with news. I met a man from the city, he said, sipping his palm wine slowly. They are looking for strong boys to work in a factory. He said they will provide training, food, and shelter. Chica's eyes lit up. You're not going there to suffer, Papa Ease added. You're going there to learn, to become something. But promise me, when you stand tall, don't forget who lifted you when you crawled. Chica nodded, heart swelling with something he hadn't felt in years, hope. When do I go? He asked. In 3 days. And so, for the first time in his life, Chica packed a bag that wasn't full of sorrow. Papa Ease gave him 2 wrappers, a small Bible, and a wooden comb carved with a lion's head. Go, my son, the old man said at the park. Go and chase your name. But when you find it, come back to tell me. Years passed like wind through elephant grass. Back in Amik, Obina's life collapsed like a house built with wet mud. He had dropped out of school, started smoking weed with the village boys, joined a gang of thieves who raided market stalls and robbed travelers at night. He wore dark glasses, carried a small dagger, and called himself Eagle. But eagles do not fly forever. One night, they raided a house on the edge of the village. The owner was an ex-soldier. He shot blindly into the dark, and 3 boys fell. Only Obina escaped. But he was bleeding. He ran to his mother's house, gasping, clutching his side. She locked the doors, washed his wound, and hid him in the ceiling. The next morning, the village woke with grief and fury. They have killed again. They must pay. We will burn the house if she hides him. Mama Obina came out crying. He is not here. My son is not a thief. But no one believed her anymore. Then came the news. The 3 dead boys were buried. Obina was declared wanted. And days later, the police brought his body from the bush. He had died from the wound. Alone, hidden, forgotten. And in that moment, the village remembered the boy they had beaten, the boy they had blamed. And a long silence fell over Amik. 10 years after he vanished, a black jeep pulled up in the village square. A tall, handsome man stepped out. He wore a fine native attire and dark shoes that shone like mirrors. He asked for Papa Ease, and the children ran off to call the old man. It was Chica. When Papa Ease came out, he dropped his walking stick. My son. Chica knelt. Papa, I came back. This is my home. Tears rolled down the old man's cheeks. You remembered. Yes. You are the only family I have. The news spread fast. The orphan had returned. Successful, clean, wealthy, with English on his tongue and kindness in his eyes. Papa Obina was dead. Mama Obina, now older and frail, came limping to the square, supported by a stick. She looked at Chica and burst into tears. My son, I am sorry. Forgive me. We didn't know. We were blind. Chica looked at her for a long time. Then he spoke. I forgive you. But this man, he turned to Papa Ease, he is my only father. And this is where I belong. And with that, he walked away, arm in arm with the old man, into the house of peace. Amik village had seen Harmattan before. It had seen war, hunger, pestilence, and betrayal. But never had it felt a shame that sat this heavily on its chest. The return of Chica, no longer a crying boy with dust on his knees, but a full-grown man with wealth and wisdom, was a mirror the villagers did not want to look into. For many nights, old women gathered under the Udala tree to murmur. Who would have thought the same boy we watch cry behind Mama Obina's kitchen will return with a motor that is finer than the chairman's? Chanique. His eyes are now like a lion's. You can't talk nonsense near him again. And the elders? They sat on carved stools in the obi, rubbing their gray beards, spitting cola nut, and shaking their heads. Ah, we failed that boy, one said. We beat an innocent child with our silence, said another. His name should be changed to Odogwu, he who rose from ashes. But not everyone saw his return as a blessing. Mama Obina, now a widow and nearly crippled from the waist down, stayed hidden inside her dim hut. Her roof leaked. Her yam barn was empty. Her wrapper was threadbare, and her face looked like a piece of cloth that had been squeezed too many times. She no longer shouted like before. Her voice had dried up with regret. The compound that used to echo with her curses and quarrels was now as quiet as a graveyard. No laughter, no pots clanging, no son to carry water, no one to cook for. She sat on her stool one evening, staring at the red dust dancing in the wind, when a young girl passed by with a calabash of palm wine. Amara, she called with a trembling voice. Please come. The girl paused. Her eyes scanned the old woman's shrunken form. Yes, Mama. Did you see? Chica. Yes, Mama. He gave my brother scholarship money yesterday. Mama Obina lowered her head. Is it true he now lives in the city with the governor's son? True, Mama. They said he owns houses. He even spoke on the radio. My uncle said he heard his voice. Mama Obinna nodded slowly, her lips trembling. Go well, my daughter. As the girl walked off, Mama Obinna leaned back, eyes wet with unshed tears. Her throat itched to call his name, but shame had built a wall there. That night, she had a dream. In the dream, her son Obinna stood beside a large fire, his body thin, his eyes hollow. Why did you lie for me, Mama? He asked. She tried to answer, but her voice had vanished. You carried me like an egg, and now I have cracked in the fire. Then she saw Chica, clothed in white, carrying water. He poured it over the fire, and Obinna vanished like smoke. She woke up coughing. Her wrapper was soaked with sweat. Meanwhile, Chica stayed in Papa Isa's compound, but it wasn't like before. He had built a new bungalow for the old man, complete with a borehole, solar panels, and tiled floors. The villagers came to see the wonder. Some said, "This is what a good heart attracts." Others whispered, "If we had known, we would have adopted him ourselves." Chica did not respond to flattery. He spent most of his time in the herbal garden with Papa Is, learning, listening, and remembering. One morning, the church bell rang faster than usual. Something had happened. When Chica reached the village square, he saw a crowd. In the center was Mama Obinna, on the ground, weeping, clinging to the feet of the catechist. "I want to confess. I want to speak before I die." The catechist knelt beside her. "Mama, take your time. What's troubling you?" She raised her face. It was swollen with guilt and salt. "I lied against that boy. I dragged him into fire with my mouth. Obinna was the thief. Not Chica. My own son, he died in shame. But this boy is a king." The crowd gasped. Women began to cry. She turned her head and saw Chica standing near the Udala tree, his arms folded. She stretched her hands toward him. "My son, forgive me. I cursed you. I beat you. I made the whole village hate you." There was silence. Chica looked at her. Then he looked at the ground. Slowly, he walked toward her, knelt, and touched her hand. "I already forgave you," he said. "The day I left your house, my pain ended." She broke down, wailing like a woman who had lost her spirit. The villagers wept with her. Even the trees seemed to lean closer, listening. From that day, people stopped calling Chica the adopted boy. He became known as Chica Odogwu, the boy who turned rejection into royalty. But Chica had one last thing to do before returning to the city. He gathered the youth of Amik under the mango tree near the stream. Boys who still smoked weed. Boys who gambled and drank palm wine until their teeth were stained brown. "My brothers," he began, "I was once like you. Alone, angry, lost. But a man found me and gave me a second chance." He looked at Papa Is, who sat on a stool, smiling. "You don't have to wait for someone to save you. You can save yourself. That anger in your chest, it will burn your dreams if you don't put it out." He donated books to the local school, paid exam fees for all final year students, gave loans to 5 boys to start poultry farms. One of them was Amadi, who once tied him to a tree when Obinna accused him of theft. Amadi wept openly. "I was blind, but now I see." And Chica smiled. That's what growth is, seeing the truth, even if it hurts. Before he left the village, Chica organized a small festival to honor Papa Is. He called it the Festival of the Fatherless, a celebration for orphans, widows, and all those forgotten by society. There was music, dance, laughter. People ate roasted yam, bushmeat, and jollof rice. Children ran barefoot in the dust, their joy louder than drums. As the sun dipped behind the hills, Chica stood with Papa Is, watching the fire crackle. "Papa," he said, "thank you for giving me your name when I had none." And the old man whispered, "Thank you for giving me a son when I had lost mine." That night, the stars in Amik shone brighter than ever.